All right, so let's get started. We'll run through the program in general because we seem to have a pretty broad interest across the board here. And what we're going to be talking about is a wide variety of offerings. 3 master's degree programs. One is a Master of Science degree in Engineering Management. Then there's a Master of Science degree in Systems Engineering, and then a Master of Professional Studies in Technical Management. And the first note of orientation for you is why is one an MPS and the others are MSs? The MPS is a professional degree. It's meant to be a terminal degree. It's meant for working professionals that are interested in advancing their careers in their current line of employment. While people who pursue systems engineering and engineering management can also do that, those individuals who pursue an MS type degree also position themselves for future studies. So if you're interested in going on for a PhD in an area of study, typically an MS degree is a better stepping stone toward that. People who have had enough of studies after they finish their master's degree, oftentimes the better option is a Master of Professional Studies degree. So that's just a subtle difference between them. But all 3 of them are 30 credit hours, which is 10 courses, and depending upon the pace at which you take the courses, it can be finished in as little as about 1.5 years, but you can take up to 5 years to complete them as well if you want to meter out your studies to manage your current job or position, or manage the finances of your education. So in addition, we're going to talk about some certificate programs in engineering management, systems engineering, project management, and integrated product development and manufacturing. We offer those certificate programs as well as the 3 master's programs. And then we'll briefly touch upon some other professional certificates that are available to you if you enroll in one of our master's degree programs. And they are available in a partnership with several of the other programs on campus in entrepreneurship, a couple of different cybersecurity pathways, and a data science certificate that can be incorporated within your master's degree program. And that's really how this is structured. You can do these as, these certificate programs either as a standalone, and get a post-baccalaureate certificate in project management, or you can roll that certificate into a master's degree in systems engineering, technical management, or engineering management. You have a lot of flexibility and choices in how you do that. You can directly enroll in a master's degree program and earn a certificate, or you can test the waters of going back to grad school if you haven't been to school in a while by just earning a graduate certificate, which is only 4 courses long. And then once you've got your sea legs or your study legs, so to speak, underneath you again, and you want to take 6 more courses, you can move on to a full master's degree. But all of the courses in the certificate programs fit underneath of the master's degree program, so they'll dovetail in nicely. There's been no need to take extra courses to earn both of the certifications. So a little bit about the school in general. We are really designed for people who want to be in the workforce rather than become full-time educators. So we schedule our classes when classes are being taught in a face-to-face modality excuse me, to either 4:30 p.m. As a start time for class, or 7:10 p.m. And you'll notice that there's a 10-minute break in between, so that allows people, if they want to schedule 2 classes on the same evening, so they only have to come to campus 1 day a week. Also, to help folks with the accessibility, we've begun to offer most all of our classes in what's called a hybrid modality, which means that you'll come to the actual campus 1 week, and then the following week you'll meet either synchronously or asynchronously online, and not have to drive to campus. You'll interact with your fellow students or work independently, depending upon the class structure. So that helps working professionals not have to travel any distance to get to campus and deal with after work traffic and being tired for that. We're also expanding our fully online offerings. We've had a lot of practice in the last year doing that and made all of our classes available online, and we'll continue that into the fall of next year. Many, if not all, of the classes will be available as an option in an online format. So for those who don't want to travel to campus at all but want to study, there are those options as well. When you are in the classroom, though, in a synchronous online classroom or a live classroom, it is a very interactive classroom where there will be case study type discussions. That's really the laboratory that managers use to study problems and issues. And then group problem solving will also take place in the classrooms. Last general feature that I want to share with you has to do with the fact that since this is a program designed for professionals already in the workplace who want to join the workplace, these classes are taught by industry practitioners. Everyone who's a faculty member here has an advanced degree, a master's or a PhD, but also has in excess of 10, maybe 20, sometimes 30 years experience working in industry, either in the private sector or for a government agency or for a federal contractor, or they run their own, consulting firm, et cetera. So they bring you lots of real world examples to help you take the concepts, the abstract concept that you'll be exposed to in class, and really find a way to apply them in your own workaday world, the very next day after classes. This is kind of an orientation slide to show you that we're offering 3 different types of degrees. All of them are really, technically in my mind, considered more managerial type degrees than true hard science degrees, okay? This is meant to, across the board, take people with a technical background, whether that be in engineering or information technology or biology or forestry sciences or any number of fields, and bring you to the point where you can become a leader in your organization. You can grow in your management acumen and develop leadership skills through these degree programs. But we offer them in slightly different varieties based upon what your needs are for your particular career objectives. Okay, and so you can see we've got a program here where we've got management depth on the vertical axis and technical depth on the horizontal axis. And if we start up here with technical management, it's a bit of a paradox. We call it technical management, but of the 3 degree programs, you'll notice that it is lowest here in technical depth, okay? That's because the goal of a technical management degree is to make you become a leader in your organization so that you can understand the technical ongoings and the technical phenomena that are being discovered, but then really have a good handle on the managerial implications of what that technology can bring to your organization. So the vast majority of this program is about leadership skills to help you help your organization take advantage of technical advancements. So that's why it's called technical management. On the other end of the scale, the degree program that is most technical in depth is systems engineering. There is technical depth in this program because you're dealing with lots of hardcore engineering sciences, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, civil engineers, et cetera. And so there's a little bit of management skills involved in here, but a lot of what you're going to be doing is continuing to advance your ability to speak with technical prowess. In between is kind of like the middle ground. It's a blend of both managerial courses and giving you the opportunity to explore some technical depth in your career in the field of study, and that's our Master of Science degree in Engineering Management. So that's kind of like just an orientation. We're going to go through each of these in a lot more detail, one by one, but I just wanted to give you kind of this placeholder orientation slide. Okay, let's start with the most technical, systems engineering. Okay, and here's a quote from our friends at Sunrise Labs who hire a number of our students. Systems engineers are, the people who bind the individual engineering disciplines together. Okay, they are the glue that holds things together. And so my layman's analogy for a systems engineer is if I look at the other fields of engineering and I think of a person's, or all of us have a human body that we live in, and there's a skeletal system in our bodies of bones and such, and those were designed by, say, a civil engineer. But then we want those bones to move in concert with each other, and so then we need a mechanical engineer to attach muscles to those bones. But we need to control the movement of those muscles, so we need to send electrical signals to those, and that's the electrical engineer. Okay, that nerve, central nerve function. And then, of course, there's a need for, supplying resources to the blood and bones in the central nervous system. So we have to have, piping and infrastructure and a heart and, waste removal products and things like that. So that's the chemical engineer in the human body. And someone needs to coordinate all those functions together to make a whole human being work and function and walk and talk. And that would be the systems engineer. They're the brains of the operation that improves and enhances the communications among the different, body subsystems to make an entire unit. And that's really what the idea of systems engineering is really all about. In the program of study, systems engineers look at, systems from a requirements definition point of view, and then design an architecture for it to improve that. And it's, they're not designing human bodies, but they'll be designing, city traffic systems, or they'll be designing water treatment plants, or they'll be designing a new aircraft, or a new missile defense system, lots of things. And lots of these are very big and complicated. And so you don't want to build something and have it be a mistake. So the science and engineering of systems engineering and the technical aspects really come in this modeling and simulation step. It's much easier to simulate a product in a computer than to actually build one. And then later on, when you've got your proof of concept, a systems engineer leads the testing and integration of those items and manages the risk as the projects go along. They need some level of management and leadership skills. And so they're allowed to take courses in that field of study to help enhance their abilities. You can't be a leader unless you have people follow you. So, and it takes more than just technical prowess to make that happen. It takes some conflict resolution and some negotiating skills. Then they can enhance their program of study by taking some additional courses in a hard science. Okay. More detail in the systems engineering. Here are the core courses that you take. You start and work on the system with start with the principles course, going to modeling and simulation, then systems architecture and design, implementation and test integration, all bounded by risk analysis and decision making skills. And when you complete that core, then you're ready to pursue a real world project to demonstrate your ability to bring all of these elements of systems engineering into holistic view on a project. We also allow you to enhance that experience though by adding some, like I said, some management courses to broaden out your abilities to negotiate and lead, and then an opportunity to get a little more technical depth in your program of study. Okay, I'll step into engineering management then. And engineering management is really what I call a bilingual degree. Engineering managers need to be able to speak in depth in their original field of study or a tangential field of study, but then they also in terms of growing in a leadership position have to have the ability to understand the fundamentals of business and have business acumen. So so knowing something about contract negotiations, knowing something about project management, knowing something about scheduling, knowing items about cost control, and negotiating and things like that are very good for engineers, as well as having strong technical skills. So So we take a very practical approach to do this and combine, some technical depth along with managerial skill sets and soft skill developments. Here you can see, that law and ethics are also an important part of this. They help inform you in making a holistic decision making. We give you some very technical methodologies for making decisions under periods of uncertainty. It's called the analytic hierarchy process that you'll learn about, and then you'll also learn how to make from the managerial skills point of view. You'll know how to make a business case through classes in finance, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to argue for a project or for an idea, you need to have sources of funding to build that, or sources of cash to pay the salaries of the people that are going to be working on your project. So you need to be able to make that financial argument to the C-suite in your organization. Once you have given the go-ahead for a project, though, we equip you with project management skills. That's the conflict resolution, negotiation, scheduling, resource utilization, et cetera, skills to help round you out with a lot of the soft skills that are generally missing from undergraduate engineering and technology programs. But as we said before, this is the balance program in the middle. So you do get to, continue to practice your trade in a focus area. And we'll talk about that in more detail in an upcoming slide to tell you what kind of options we have available to you. Here's the core curriculum. Again, for engineering management, you can see you start with some basic leadership and communication skills, law and ethics, project management fundamentals, and those building a financial business case. And those, again, surround this capstone experience that comes at the end of your program of study that lets you demonstrate that you have the ability to connect all the dots and pull project elements together. You surround that with both the breadth electives that we talked about and the depth electives, which are, additional technical acumen can be here in data science, technology development, some international management, cybersecurity, systems engineering, general management sciences, or computer sciences, health information technology, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, environmental engineering, information systems. You have the whole world and the rest of the university's graduate level curriculum to choose from, to tailor and design your program to make it what is necessary for you to advance your career. So quick pause there.
Dr. Johnson.
Yes.
Question for you. So in the beginning, you said the certificates could apply. Will they apply to the depth or breadth electives in the program you discussed thus far?
It kind of depends on which master's degree program it in. The certificate programs generally have a blend of depth and breadth courses, and we're going to get to a slide to talk about certificates after we finish with technical management. And remind me then again, if I don't think about it, I'll show you the idea of what's breadth and what's depth in a certificate program, so that you can dovetail them into a program of study. And Christina, yes, we're going to talk about the IDPM program coming up soon too. Great, thanks for that question. Okay, so technical management. As I said, it is the least technical of all our degrees, but it's the one that carries the name technical. But again, this is for individuals who may not have a technical background, but find themselves, they woke up one morning and they're working in a technical organization. You may have been a communications major in your undergraduate studies, but you're working for Verizon Telecommunications Systems, and you want to advance in that organization. And given that it's technology oriented and technology driven, you have to learn to speak in information technology language and deal with managerial problem solving with a technical context. So we do a lot of soft skills development work in technical management so that you have the ability to resource people and negotiate and gather budgets, et cetera. but it's all within a technical context, so that you can advance in your organization and become a leader. Here's kind of an example of some of the coursework. Leadership of teams and organizations, strategic decision making, driving change, project management, organizational development, and organizational skills development. And then somewhat unique to this program is that we really want you to personalize the capstone that's part of this program. This program is available on the Catonsville campus of UMBC, but I also wanted to point out that this degree is available and offered through the Shady Grove campus that we have over in Rockville, Maryland. Here's the core of the technical management program, and you can see the soft skills development that circles around here. And then again, like the other degree programs, you get to demonstrate your acumen with a capstone project. And the other important part about a capstone project is that this becomes a resume builder. It allows you to put something beyond your degree in terms of a project right on your resume to show that you have the ability to not just regurgitate book knowledge, but to actually take the theory and put it into practice in a real world situation. So around the technical management degree, there's the opportunity again for cybersecurity, project management, data science, or management science focused electives to round out your program of study. None of these are specified for you. It's develop your own path to your own personalized solution. This is the most flexible of all of our degree programs in terms of designing, that extra special element that you want on top of your technical management degree. And as promised, we're going to start working into certificate programs. And the two that we offer internally that are separate from the degree programs are project management and integrated product development and manufacturing. These are the most popular standalone certificate programs that we offer. And you can see that project management, these courses here tend to be more on the managerial breadth point of view, but advanced project management applications is a technical depth course, okay? And over here though, in integrated product development, manufacturing, you'll notice that these are technical depth courses, and this one here is a managerial breadth course. So both of these can fit into any one of the degree programs that we just discussed, but as I said, they also function quite well as as standalone offerings as well. And so students will come in and want to study integrated product development and manufacturing and take the sequence through to its completion, and then put that on their resume. And then they'll often then enroll in a technical management master's degree program to finish out their 10-course sequence. Similarly, lots of individuals they're already working and they just need a little bit of a boost from the idea of they want to learn a little bit about project management. And so they come to us and, even taking this very first course here in project management, once you complete this course, you've got the educational requirements and let's see if I can draw mouse drawing. It's not the best. Okay, so that spells PMBOK. Does anybody know what the PMBOK is? Any of those who were signed up or interested in project management? This is the knowledge that allows you to sit for this certification exam, industry standard from the Project Management Institute, project management professional. So you have the knowledge after this course to sit for this exam and earn, in addition to a standalone certificate in project management, you can earn a certification from the Project Management Institute. Sometimes folks ask me, well, what's the difference between the PMP and this certificate program that you're offering here. And what I tell you is that the analogy is like learning to drive, okay? Having a PMP means that you've gone to the Department of Motor Vehicles and you've taken the written test and you know how to talk to people about driving. But can you get out and really drive in the real world because you've never been on the road? The answer is no. What you need is over here to learn the rules of the road and get practice driving so that you're actually a practitioner in the field. You not only know about driving, but you actually have experience driving. And this advanced project management applications class, the faculty puts you into a real world situation with a kind of like as a pseudo internship with a company to do a real world project. Okay. In addition to those specific certificates, we also, have opportunities for you to specialize in the areas as I promised. Data science, technology development, systems engineering, international management course sequence, a management science course sequence, or a cybersecurity course sequence. In some of these, we'll end up with a post-baccalaureate certificate from another department. So those are additional add-ons that can come into your master's degree program as well. Before I move on, any questions about certificates? Hope that helped folks a little bit. The question is, which companies are interested in this certificate? There are many companies, companies in the local area like Black & Decker or Norbrake, where, they're manufacturing parts and they're looking for individuals to help supervise the development of new initiatives. That's just some of the folks that I know that have hired some of our graduates with an, IPDM certificate. What you're really working on there is not, innovation and creativity and how to, how to invent something, but it's how to economically, manufacture something, an idea that's already been put to fruition. And this sequence, let me back up a slide. This sequence here on, manufacturing operations and advanced manufacturing processes. The advanced manufacturing processes course actually has a hands-on laboratory in there so that you can really get an intimate knowledge of, new manufacturing techniques, whether it be, some new advanced injection molding or additive manufacturing through 3D printing or other techniques. You spend a lot of your time in the laboratory on campus working and actually playing with new manufacturing techniques and trying to decide what technique is best for the kind of product that you're trying to make that will make it most efficiently at the best cost with the least amount of error or rework in the process. No other questions? I'll move forward to a slide on admissions requirements. And my job is, once you're admitted into the program, to get you successfully through the program. And it is Kim Edmonds' job. I'm going to introduce her now. It's her job to help you navigate the admissions process. So I'm going to ask her to talk for a few minutes for us.
Hi, everybody. Welcome once again. This is Kim Edmonds. I'm the program manager here in the Office of Professional Programs. And most of you will have corresponded with me at some point in this process, whether it's through your application or inquiry or what have you. So if you haven't already applied, we want you to know that, it's pretty easy to apply. You need a bachelor's degree in engineering, computer science, information systems, and or significant work in a technological oriented business. And that's not true for every single one of our programs. For instance, project management, you can have a undergraduate degree in really in any background. And there is some flexibility depending upon the degree. Same thing with technical management. But for our two MS degrees, we do request that you have a technological background like engineering, computer science, or information systems. And that's pretty firm. We ask that you have a minimum undergraduate degree GPA of 3.0 or above. Again, there might be some flexibility depending upon what you apply for. In the certificates, we can be a little bit flexible with that GPA, but for our master's degrees in general, that's a pretty firm requirement. We do not require GRE scores, and that's something that you might find to be different than other programs that you might be looking for. If you're an international student, we do ask for some additional credentials, and that is requirements, excuse me. So you do need to do English proficiency testing, and we take Pearson test of English, PTE, TOEFL, of course, lots of people are familiar with that one, and IELTS, International English Language Testing. And for fall 2021 only, we will also look at Duolingo English test, and that is, due to the pandemic, we know that some people were not able to get to some of the other testing options. If you looked at the test scores, you will see that our requirement is a little bit higher than the overall university score. For TOEFL, you need to have a 99 or above. For IELTS, it's going to be 7.0 or above, PTE 68, and Duolingo is 120. Your scores need to be current, so no more than 2 years old. And we also request 2 letters of recommendation from our international applicants. And the last thing that I actually forgot to mention is that we do also request a current resume. Although work experience isn't absolutely required, it's desired, but we still want to see what you've been doing. And so when you turn in your application, we always ask for you to also include a current resume. And that's it. It's a pretty simple process. I will let you know we have lots of applications for fall 2021, and we are doing our best to get through them and make sure that they are reviewed. But once you have all of those items in, the application is sent forward to the program directors for review. They do a admission review and make a recommendation, and then it is sent forward to the graduate school, and they do a final review of all of your credentials, making sure that everything is in order, and your acceptance actually comes from the graduate school, and so you would get an official letter from them saying whether you've been admitted or not. And that's kind of it. At this point, as I mentioned, we are well underway in the application process for fall 2021. Most students do opt to apply in March and April, and then in June is when registration opens for new students. So, those of you who can get a decision before June 1, you can register and have the best selection of classes by registering early. Are there any questions? You can either unmute and ask, or you can put it in the chat.
Kim, I'll just add a little bit more about the English proficiency scores. It's kind of an unfortunate consequence of the fact that that all of the instruction is in English, and we really want to protect folks and make sure, since it's a very communication intensive program, that you do have a good command of the English language, so that you, in essence, get your value back for the time and financial resources that you put into the degree program to ensure your success. We found that it really is important, because the only way we have to communicate with folks is through the English language medium, and so that's really the strength of this requirement here. Was there a question coming in?
Yes, there's a question. So, students interested in technical management and with a bachelor's degree in economics, and you've been a project manager. So again, I think that's a case where we could be flexible in what the requirement is. I think technical management, because the emphasis is more on management and less on technical courses and things like that. A degree in economics with some experience in project management would leave you eligible to apply for that program. Would you agree with that, Dr. Gauker?
Yes, I would, Kim. That sounds like an eligible candidate.
Okay, so there is another question.
Okay.
Okay, and this is for engineering management. Can we take different subjects from different depths, from different technical electives? Is that what you mean? Or so yes, I mean, there are pathways. If students go on to the website, you will see that there are pathways for engineering management, and those are suggestions of areas that you could specialize in. But for the 4 technical electives, you can take one from each, 4 different disciplines, if that's what you like to do. Some folks will decide to focus on one area or another. And as Dr. Garfield mentioned earlier, some students who take maybe cybersecurity or data science, you can get a certificate in addition to, your master's degree at the same time.
Yeah, we give the pathway suggestions to help people because they often don't know what they want to do, but there's no requirement that you take a particular specialization. For individuals who are looking to change their career path or are, progressing into a master's degree program directly from undergraduate studies and want to keep their options as open as possible for employment after they graduate with their master's degree, really the recommendation is to often choose, a technical depth course from many different areas. So data science is becoming a ubiquitous subject in the world of operations today. So taking a data science class is a good idea, but also taking a class in cybersecurity practice is an excellent idea. And then learning something about systems engineering, taking that as an elective class. So you can broaden your reach and broaden your skill set on your resume by including diversity. There's no need to have the specialization. We offer it both ways. Either you can go for depth or you can go for breadth. And that's kind of what this slide starts off with here. If you're looking for technical depth, or you're looking for a specialization, or you're looking for breadth, you make that choice. You have the choice to choose those things. You can choose to select a concurrent certificate or start with a certificate program. You get to choose whether or not you attend class online, or you have a hybrid class, or you want specifically in-class experiences. And then you can choose the time of evening that you attend your classes. So those lots of choices and flexibility lead to that last statement there, which is, once you complete your degree program, to choose your next promotion or to choose your next job opportunity. And that kind of sums up the flexibility that we put in the program. Now we'll open it back up again to just general questions across the board. And Kim, you want to make a shout out for the little note here?
Sure. If you haven't applied yet, you can use the waiver code here on the slide. It's DPS 2021. It will waive the fee. If you've already applied, there isn't much I can do to help you with that. So I hope that you got a chance to I hope you'll get a chance to use the fee. It saves you $50, gets you through the application. And again, our turnaround is pretty good, although we do have a lot of applications right now. So, we encourage you to apply early and so that you can get a decision back from us.
Okay, and typically, folks are very reflective, and you're in the information intake mode, and you'll find afterwards that you have questions that come up that you didn't think to ask. I don't want you to be shy to reach out to Kim or Dr. Winchester or myself. These are our email addresses. I'll leave them up here for a minute. Feel free to write to us with follow-up questions. I know oftentimes you'll sit there and think about it later on this evening or later on in the day today if you're in India. Going throughout your, the rest of your studies today, you'll be sitting in class going, oh, I should have asked this question. Well, you have an opportunity. Feel free to drop us an email, and we'll follow up with you and get you the answer that you're looking for.
I see one more question about
Okay.
In-person classes meeting. So right now, obviously, with the campus closed, everything is online. As we move into fall 2021, we are still getting guidance about how classes will meet. They want to try to have some classes meet in person. I'm not sure, but normally the classes, so pre-pandemic classes would just meet once a week, right, for 2.5 hours in the time slots that were mentioned earlier, 4:30 to 7:10 or 7, and then 7:10 to 9:40. So, in some sense, it's really convenient that the classes meet only once a week. You only have to come to campus once a week. If it's a hybrid class, you're coming maybe every other week. But at the same time, a lot is covered in the 2.5 hours, right? So you want to make sure that you are in attendance for your classes, whether that's, in person, online, or what have you, because a lot of material is covered each week. I hope that answered the question. We are still getting more information about fall 2021, and I will tell you, we get lots of questions about that, and it's we don't know exactly what's going to happen.
But there is flexibility being shown, and when we make the academic case for the need to have an in-person class, the campus has been very good at developing safe ways for us to return to campus and be socially distant and have personal protective equipment and procedures in place so that everyone feels safe and comfortable as they're attending class on campus. And we have had some classes, and we'll continue to have some classes that do meet on campus in the fall, even if the majority for some reason do stay online, but that's really not anticipated at this time. We anticipate that we'll be able to return to campus.
That's correct. And I also would say for our international students who are here and are required to have in-person classes, we have been able to accommodate the students in making sure that you stay in compliance and that you have enough in-person class time to meet the requirements of your F1 visa if you're here visiting as an international student.
I think sounds like we're good. We'll let them go and start thinking about their follow-up questions, Kim.
Exactly. One last thing I would say before we go, obviously Dr. Winchester was not here, able to attend tonight. If you have specific questions about systems engineering and the IPDM certificate, you could direct your questions to him. For the other programs, engineering management, technical management, and project management, that's Dr. Gauker. And then for me, I take all the other questions, right? All the administrative questions, registration, applications, documents are missing, student support, anything like that I can help you with. So I just wanted to add that. And I'd like to say thank you for everybody for joining us tonight, because
yes,
this is great.
Thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you in the fall.